Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Classic Quest podcast. This is the show where we break down the classic hip-hop albums track by track and give you our thoughts and opinions on every one, trying to understand why this album is considered to be a classic. And today, we will be talking about Pete Rock and C.L. Smooth's album, Mecca and the Soul Brother. So my name is Holden Stephan Roy.
I am your lady friend Bonnie.
And before we get into the episode today, we will do our little intro bit. So you can skip that by checking the description of the video to see when we start talking about each and every song. On that note, we want to let you know from the jump that we are not professionals. We recognize that being people who grew up in Montreal and, well, in her case, middle of nowhere Quebec, and kind of just didn't necessarily come from the same environment as a lot of this music, that it's been a huge educational process where a lot of the comments we've received over time have been truly instrumental in helping us grow and achieve a deeper level of understanding of why hip-hop is as wonderful as it truly is. On that note, we do like to read our favorite comment from last week's video, even though the last Classic Quest was 3 weeks ago. We're aware of that. Sometimes you take a little vacation.
Yep.
But on that video, which I believe was
Fuji's the score?
Diamond D and the Psychotic Neurotics, no? Wasn't it the last one we did? I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was the score. Either way, this was on the Diamond D and the Psychotic, whatever, that album. And we got this comment from Aller Hetherington. And he goes, A1 content, keep it up. Have you checked smizmoose.com? Most YouTubers are using it to promote their videos. Now, I picked this comment because I thought it was a nifty thing. I went to the site, and it looks to be a little bit of a pay-for-play mechanism where you can pay money.
Clicks or whatever?
Oh, high-quality clicks.
Ooh.
Like, YouTube has ways of stripping away the fake clicks and the fake views. So I guess what they're saying is that for now, the views you would pay for from this particular company would get around algorithmic cleansing when it comes time to that every couple of months. And every couple of months we have like a sub drop. Boop. Those are just fake accounts getting destroyed by YouTube. And it's fair. There's sometimes you see these comments and they're just spam, but I just wanted to know why people pay for this stuff. Like, by now most people should be aware that views is a pretty vain metric, and the amount of money it would cost you to pay for a significant amount of views would also be really easily provable that you paid for those views. I just don't see.
I think it's a way just to jumpstart things. I don't necessarily think it's the way to get 1 million subscribers, but I think it's a way to catch people's eyes, because you'll be a little bit more, I think maybe around, or you'll have more subscribers, so people will take you more seriously or whatever. I don't know.
I get that, but then these views are garbage. They're fake comments. None of it makes sense. So I just
Russians.
don't. I mean, at this point in time, how could you think this is a viable strategy? Simply because most people who are the YouTube audience who might support you probably wouldn't want to support you if they thought you were fake. And it's so easy to figure out that you probably didn't earn your views, because it don't make no sense based on things like your interactions on Twitter and other such things. Anyway, so all I'm trying to say is thank you for the offer, person on the internet, but nah, I'd rather have low view counts and have engagement in those low view counts than not. Anyway, thank you. So feel free to solicit us anything you want to do. Tell us what albums you want us to review, etc., etc. But then, special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Lindell Williams, and Coney Sparks. Shout them out at the beginning when you're still watching, because they're dope and they support us.
Unless you've skipped over it.
Yeah, plug that at the end. And now I think we can start talking about this episode. Bonnie, why don't you again tell us what album we will be reviewing today?
Well, this week we are doing Mecca and the Soul Brother, Pete Rock and C.L. Smooth.
And why are we doing this?
Because it was requested.
And who requested it?
Mr. Jonathan Barnes.
And so that's why we're doing it, because that's part of how some of that Patreon stuff works. You can force our hand and make us review albums with run times of 1 hour and 17 minutes.
Yeah.
I have noticed a little trend here. When was the last patron request that seemed to be under 1 hour and 15 minutes?
Yeah, they're we're going to give them the big album.
We know they're not reviewing it. unless like we request it, and there might be truth in that. Sometimes you look at the runtime and you're like, I kind of want to have an extra hour on my Saturday. 40-minute album. Like, anyway.
The dream.
So instead, on Patreon week, we know it's going to be a long one. And that's cool because something just on like a little tangential subject, because that's the kind of show this is. It's fascinating that like the runtime is not something I think a lot of people even really consider, right? But so much of these albums kind of push it to the limit are going to be within that like hour and 16 and hour and 19 minute range, which makes you really think about it. What if they could have made it like today and now, where a band I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do with it is actually Tool, who will be releasing their album on August 30th, I believe. And they're a band that's always hated the 80-minute confines of what a CD gave you, because in order to make stuff fit, they almost had to like cut their songs down to make them fit. Right. Whereas you gotta wonder, especially with some of these tracks where they could have easily swung an extra 2-3 minutes of stuff in some cases, and so much it is, and did the 80-minute CD create like a kind of confine on how songs were constructed. And weirdly enough, now that confine is lifted, we're all driven. You're seeing this like seriously popular trend of 2 to 3 minute songs, even though for like the first time in history, you really could make a crazy like 3 hour long project. And let me be clear, I'm not saying you should just do that, because if you do it wrong, it's going to be garbage.
I think people do I think they do that with like singles. Like they'll make them, like the music video will come out first or whatever, and like the whole thing will be like a mini movie. It'll be like, a 40-minute like music video. So like they'll do something like that.
Well, Chris Brown, I'll have to give him credit, is one of the few dudes who has seemed to have exploited the fact that you can release 48-track albums and stuff, but that guy's not versatile or interesting enough, in my opinion, to sustain that. Like at most, you're gonna listen. I don't know that many people really actively listen to every song on those projects. I'm certain there was a huge fan base that did, but do they still do it? I don't know. But I imagine like if a Deltron 3030 or something with that level of innovation or imagination or storytelling, or even a Good Kid, Mad City, if they were not confined by the 80-minute runtime, what could have been done? And I'm not even saying it's the right choice to make something longer, but imagine you had this like compelling audio experience that's like 3 to 4 hours long. It's almost like a hip-hop novel put forth, created by like, I don't know. There's just a lot of potential that I don't know that a lot of people think about. And if you do think about it and you know exactly what I'm talking about and can give examples, that would be super fresh. But either way, this album was like 2 minutes shy of the max runtime. Still, this is the part of the show, though, where we like to contextualize just how familiar we are with these artists, because there's a good chance that most people clicking on a Pete Rock and C.L. Smooth, Mecca and the Soul Brother album are fans of both Pete Rock and C.L. Smooth and probably have a lot of love for this album. That is my assumption, that short of the small percentage of you that actually just watch stuff that we put out because we put it out, that most of you coming here are here for the album and your love for it to see what we have to say. So for that, I am not in that club of people who knew who these guys were for the whole long time. I know the name Pete Rock. I didn't really know the name C.L. Smooth.
I definitely confused, like we spoke about this album at the beginning, and I definitely thought that this was Raw Bass and DJ Easy Rock. So I was completely like wrong going into this from the start. I was like, this is not quite the same thing. And
all I knew is that it also came out in the magic year of 1992.
Yeah, June
which,
9th.
Believe it or not, my first thought was DJ Black Hurricane's favorite year. That was my first thought when that happened. And I'm like, man, him, Lindell, they all seem to be picking these 92 albums. Maybe it really is like the magic year of hip-hop. Because
JoJo.
All of them have been pretty sick that we have covered. Not to say that everything was sick, but everything we've covered has been. But I have heard the name Pete Rock, but I don't really know anything about him. And I heard the name C.L. Smooth when I got this album request, and I didn't know much about it. And I'm gonna leave it at that, because for me this was like going in pretty blind based on the fact that Mr. Jonathan Barnes wanted us to talk about it. So I came in with my open mind, expecting it to be super sampley. That was my expectation. A lot of samples, a lot of that old sounds, where like pretty much everything that came out this year had this crazy level of like production, where the one thing I can say that I felt was in common is you can often just ignore the rap, and the production kind of loops in such an invigorating way where it makes excellent music to do things to, like work or wash the dishes or do chores, or I mean, I don't know if physical exercise for this particular album is the one I would go to.
No.
But many other like chill vibes when you're just trying to have like whatever. But the fact is,
I mean, I was listening to reggae in the shower before.
That's fair. So that was about my only expectation, is that it was the lyrics were probably going to have some message to them, and that the beats were going to have some invigorating grooves that would make it challenging to listen to the message. So that was my expectation going in. Spoiler alert, that's may have happened more than once on this project, because the production of Mr. Pete Rock is spectacular. But yeah, I don't have a lot more to say there. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said already, I'm like, I confused them with somebody else. So, I mean, I clearly had no idea who they were. So, yeah, this was all brand new to me. And as for the cover, it's basically them, like a black and white picture, and like there's like a car, like there's one of them on either side, and there's like a car coming like out of like a garage or something like that, and it's just, I mean, it's okay.
I don't want to sound insulting, and I mean this in the most respectful way, actually. It's so generically of the times that it works. Like, it looks like...
But it doesn't necessarily stand out.
However, unlike a lot of other ones, this is like finding the fine wine version next to the corner store wine, because I actually think the picture's fresh. I feel like it might not like pop out because you've seen a lot of stuff that's similar to it. But there's like empirically, this is fucking great. Like the color use, the black and white, just the way their logo in yellow pops out at it, like relative to how boring these other versions of this cover are. I think these guys have a slickness to it, and they're kind of making a little bit of a point with this all black tone that's going on. And then I'm like, that's pretty cool. That's actually like, it just makes something that otherwise would be generic just actually kind of come out like the creme de la creme next to all the generic shit. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all, but that's how I feel about that. But the title's interesting, Mecca and the Soul Brother. I think I figured out after the fact that the Soul Brother, I believe, is Pete Rock.
Yeah.
And Mecca is Harlem, and that's how I understand that to be. And then C.L. Smooth is like the lover of the Mecca, as he's referred to, I think, in some rhymes. I got a little confused with fully understanding it.
Maybe we needed to listen to the first album, because this is their second album.
Well, maybe we did, but that didn't happen. We're on this album, and that's where we're at with it. So if y'all want to just explain the title a little bit, I did some half-assed amount of research into this, but it's a really long album, so I didn't do a lot of research. So I hope somebody out there can answer that, just for the benefit of like everybody else coming to the review, so that like everybody checks the comments. So you put some cool shit in the comments, it gets upvoted a lot, you look cool, and then I look, better for having that there, I guess. I don't know, we all win together is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, now I'm just jibber jabbering, which tends to happen a little bit. So why don't we start off this conquest, of which we're probably going to split it into two parts, with Return of the
Mecca.
Battery, so sweet the repeat, you're bound to catch a cavity. My ability to...
Alright, so I'm gonna just kind of point this out in case I forget. This song starts off with like a little introductory thing, but like every song on this album also starts off with a little introductory thing. And when I say every song, I'm pretty sure like all 16 tracks have some kind of little intro thing that happens before it like segues into the actual track. And I don't know that I've noticed this on an album before, so I just was curious about your thoughts on that in particular. This is definitely one of those moments where they did not double the track list by creating skits.
But it's not like it's not like a skit or like anything necessarily that's that needs to be separate, and it's usually only like 10, 20 seconds. Like, it's really quite short
Sometimes.
at the beginning.
Other times it's not.
It's just sort of like a silent, kind of creeps up on you. There's like a bit of like often a jazzy kind of a start or whatever. There's like something at the beginning.
It's something that never sounds like what
away.
the song is. It's just like these little almost palate cleansery things that show up in the middle of the album. But I notice it because I've almost never seen it done to the extent that is done on this project. So I thought it was like a super significant thing, and I was curious all of y'all thoughts on that, because is this an interesting move? Is this something that was a little bit overdone? I don't really know. I think for me it was track for track.
Well, I think it was something unique because, like you're saying, you haven't seen this before. I haven't seen this before. So pretty cool.
In this case, it starts off, and I believe it's the Adolfo Abdullah Muhammad is the guy who is doing the intro. He also does the intro on another song.
Okay.
And he does, to know the truth is to know the self is to know the Mecca. Mecca is not a state of mind or a place. Mecca is a way of life. It is the answer to all confusion, the attribute, make way for the return of Mecca, salam. And I thought that was super fascinating. It made me believe instantly that this album was going to be influenced by the Nation of Islam in some significant way, because Mecca is the place you're supposed to go visit.
Well, it's like where you do to like a religious pilgrimage often.
Yeah, it's like the key place to go to. And I believe you're like in the religion of Islam, it's like a requirement to go to Mecca.
And like you pray towards Mecca. Like that's like the direction that you always pray towards.
So I think it's interesting because like Nation of Islam is different, right? It's not the same thing. And so I find it fascinating to see how the same language and the same ideas kind of can get remanifested to almost suit a different purpose. And I understand how ignorant I am to both A, the religion of Islam, and B, the Nation of Islam, but I can know enough to know that there is differences between the two of these things.
And if I'm not mistaken, like the Black Rock, I can't remember what it's actually like called. Is it the Kaaba? I don't know if I'm saying that properly. Is like space rock or something like that. Like it's like something that came out of space. It's
Fair
like
enough.
An asteroid or something.
But I believe in a sense in this album, the Mecca is to kind of constitute something. It kind of reminded me of the way KRS-One broke down the hip-hop culture / lifestyle thing that basically sounded like a religion in the way KRS-One put it. And it kind of feels a bit in the way that KRS-One was speaking while describing the way of hip-hop. So instantly I'm feeling this connection between the idea of Mecca and the idea of like the home of hip-hop in some way or another. And then it's mostly because Pete Rock said overstand the Mecca in command. And like I've never heard anybody except for KRS-One in that book over there ever use the word overstand. Like all of the chapters are overstandings, and overstanding is like a superior way of understanding. It was just a really grandiose way of saying it's next level understanding. I don't really know that it needed a differentiation, but the way he describes it eloquently, it's almost like creating code in a sense, because he uses the word overstand. It's like if you know what that means, you get it, versus you get that there's a difference, and if you don't, it kind of blends in well enough that most people can, but it's almost like a little signal. I don't know if I'm going too deep into this. As I said, I do recognize my ignorance, but anyway, so that was just kind of where I started with this, but the beat is pretty freaking invigorating. That was like my first realization, because these songs are fucking long. When I say that, I mean the first 4 songs are over 5 minutes. Now, this is not a problem, and I'm saying that because the instrumentation on like the various beats is so well put together. But when I do my review, I listen to the track like 3 times in a row now. That's my current flow when I'm actually doing it. So when it says 5 minutes and 45 seconds for Return of the Mecca, that is almost 20 straight minutes of just sitting there jamming out to the same song. So when I tell you that these beats are freaking great, it's almost like you can get lost in Pete Rock's work. Like, there's that concept of a groove or whatever, where everything just kind of flows together. I believe y'all probably understand the concept better than I do, but all I can say is, if anything, I had a lot of trouble on this project, more so than others, really focusing on the lyrics and the lyricism, simply because I found the instrumentals so intoxicating, which was weird because they're not even really stuff I would ever go out of my way to listen to. It's not in the genres I'm like really feeling or anything, but I still found myself overwhelmed by like, it's almost like there's this like intense emotional capacity that's transmitted through each and every one of these tracks. And like, I'm saying that consistently because I don't want to have to basically say the same thing on every single freaking song. So like, this applies to all of them, and I might bring it up again, but I might forget. And it's like, holy crap. Like, I don't know that I have favorite beat makers yet, but this album made Pete Rock like somebody that's like, what the fuck, man? That is some intoxicating ass stuff to listen to relative to others. So that was super cool. What about you, though? Before I keep talking, why don't you tell us how you feel, and then I'll keep talking.
All right. So I mean, I thought it was cool. So it sort of starts off by like Mecca is sort of like a way of life, and speaking at the beginning, it's sort of like a religious message, and you know, like we talked about, it's a place where you go to do a religious pilgrimage. And it has some like saxophone featured like in like the beat in like a few places, which makes it sound like super like early 90s, like late 80s, kind of like when like the saxophone and like what's his face there, Kenny G was like, you know, ruling the charts for some weird reason. And anyways, so they have like really interesting lyrics, and I really like the flow and everything. I like the way they kind of like mention like high and low society things, sort of like mixing it in, sort of like he's talking about like the ballet and classical music, but at the same time like they're in the hood and getting shot at. And I guess that's sort of like the reality of like living in New York City or the surrounding New York City, and you know how it has something for everybody, and clearly, you know, it's the haves and the have-nots are separated, and you know you're seeing all these wonderful things, and like they're still sort of like ingrained in your everyday life if you have to take like the subway or whatever, or go, you know, into the city for work or whatever you're doing, but you know, you're going back home to like this like dark, scary place. So it's kind of like the juxtaposition of like your life and kind of what he's kind of talking about. So and overall this song kind of like is fine, like for me, like it doesn't necessarily stand out yet, like as being like, you know, something really crazy. I thought it was enjoyable. It has a cool flow, but for me it didn't necessarily sound like original sounding, because it kind of sounded like a lot of other things from that time. So I give it a 4.15.
So what I was saying a little bit earlier is that it's super easy to listen to these songs just like over and over again. Mm-hmm. Lyrically, they bring something to the table though. And I think that it's fascinating how like right away they're trying to take a more educational tone, almost painting a lifestyle, but the first thing they want you to do is to be sure to explore the hardcore that came before Columbus. And I was like, damn. First of all, like identifying Columbus as a pivotal point in history and what happened before he discovers America and a colonial slave trade, etc. It's like, go learn your history. Make sure to understand, you know, I guess how powerful things used to be before this kind of pivotal shift happened.
Yeah.
Discover no other. Serve the soul on a dish. Okay means official, kid, not decrepit though. The lyrical dynamo. Set the flow. When I do so, entice the price with the mic device. And I'm like, the rhyming is cool. I'm not going to say that C.L. Smooth here is going to have the coolest flow I've ever heard in my life. On the other hand, if we're talking about like a proficiency and an ability to just fucking be proper with it, I mean, hit the pockets, I mean, do everything absolutely right there. He's right there. He's great. Absolutely fantastic. I wasn't trying to diss him in some way. But I love the fact that it's almost like be real, be integral, make sure that be real and be like proper with your flow. Make sure that you are going to be absolutely the freaking greatest, and he proclaims to be insane with it. While he hit your slice so precise that you never hurt twice. And I thought about that because precision in a flow is something I think a lot about lately. as the great debate of, is it cooler, and this is I guess a great debate in my private life, is it cooler to be a fast tricky rapper or somebody that has a slower flow that has such an exact control on how to nail every pause and timing that it's to maximum effect, the messaging of what's coming on. So he is that precise that I believe he has a firm grasp of how to understand the tempo and cadence he raps in to be able to ensure that you hear what he actually has to say. So I thought that was absolutely freaking fantastic and like so well put together. As far as the actual content, it just kind of sounds like he's got a lot of integrity and he's gonna fucking kill it with his absolute rhyme point. And he establishes himself as Mecca as he goes, vocalize a verb and return of the word Mecca, the reincarnator selector from the whole agenda, something to remember. And then I'm like, it's cool the way he just flows it. Like, you can tell like it's well written. I mean, I guess if you know how to rap, you can tell it's well written when it's almost like the flow just jumps off your mouth. You can't like not say the way the things rhyme. You know, that's I guess a way to put it. And I really feel that with the way he puts it together properly. It's a lot of little clever lyrical things, but it's also what I guess I really like about it is he's not relying on things like a crazy amount of dated cultural references, right? Because something that a lot of people will do is bring up a bunch of brands and crap that I don't know anything about. He's not doing that, which I find just relying on language the way that he's been doing, whereas it's just really like gravity, salt and battery. Those concepts can work together linguistically, and that seems to be more the premise of the writing rather than just the trickiness of a pun. So I think that it kind of gives it a bit more of an eternal message, but then there's still like that truth in the history and what they're trying to like bring through with it. Then you get the little hook, which I think is a break. I think all the hooks are kind of little breaky things, little scratchy scratches and whatnot, and it's all really like excellently done. Then we get Pete Rock, who I'm gonna say is not my favorite of the two rappers. Like if the two rappers and I had to pick one, I'm absolutely picking C.L. Smooth.
Yeah.
But then
so good.
Pete Rock brings so much to the freaking table here. Yeah. Let him be, man. Let him on the track. It doesn't hurt it. It's just still so good, right? And then he just kind of, I feel like he's got like a choppier, slightly like, it's like, there's something about the way he hits the timing that feels off while not being off because he does it so consistently. Like the math nails the verse rhythmically and he's actually on. But it feels weird sometimes, but he does it and I really like it. I don't know exactly what I can do to describe that now because I don't write down specifics. Sorry about that. But if you know what I'm talking about, you probably get it. If you don't, I don't know. Listen to it and you'll see what I mean. Hopefully. But I like when he's just saying shit like boogie to me, I'll swallow hollow when you follow, stable to turntable, lyrics I cradle, no fable, label or run my tongue around your navel, you're coming to me, so therefore the program's Mecca, the silhouette, a weirder fella, darker than vanilla. And I'm like, it seems like it's a little more kind of lyric to lyrically kind of popping into different things. Like all of a sudden, you know, he's kind of killing it lyrically, and then he's so skilled he's gonna end up being able to lick your belly button, which is a good precursor to licking your vag.
Don't lick my belly button. I'm
not going to. I know better. That's dangerous shit. And then, you know, flipping it almost like back into him and his understanding of his way of life, and then bringing it into being a dark, or I guess a black man. I like when he goes, just from a rhythmic and how it sounds perspective, alphabetical rebel, I dissect the devil, unveil a tale and detail the third rail, read it in braille, a bigger mail, leave a trail, now I sink into the link that, anyway, it was more the part right before that. It just sounded real cool to me, and it's like, you can really feel just that effort that these guys put into like making sure shit rhymes and just flows properly.
Yeah.
Let's be real though, C.L. Smooth, if he saves the sarcasm, he is gonna hit you like an orgasm. And that is one of my favorite lyrics because that is kind of how orgasms work if you think about it. Usually there's some like momentum and flow. You have an idea it's coming, but it really just smacks you in the face when it comes, as they say. So I really like that line. And right before it, just listen wide open, never token. Really? You don't talk? I didn't even catch that. This feels like they'd be toking, but I guess not. Do or die's my slogan. And then, you know, he's not even sarcastic. He's going to hit you like that. Like jizz to the face.
I think that, I mean, like, they're pretty, like, in terms of like their lyrics, they're quite educated in some of like the things that
know,
they say.
But the sounds they're creating sound like marijuana heaven, is I guess the way to put it. Like this is straight up the kind of vibe that you could see people smoking blunts to, listening to, as opposed to most. Like I can't see people really sipping on the bottle getting turned to this.
No, this feels like a kind of like dancey kind of
This
album,
to me
or something
feels
that you
like
drive to.
Or sit in a chair, smoke a blunt, and vibe to.
Okay.
Anyway.
Maybe.
I like the track. I thought it was a really strong start to the album, and it establishes basically what is going to be the core sound of this album. Ridiculously great beats, thought out, but rather we'll come across the topics as we go across the songs. But honestly, even from a topical perspective, this is a lot of what the album's going to be bringing to us, with a few exceptions where they go in honestly some interesting directions. So I give this a 4.35. I truly think it's a great song. It is absolutely a little bit outside of the realms of what I would throw on just for my like personal tastes in music, but hats off to how excellently created this is. Like I feel like I would want to show this to a lot of people, and by doing that I will end up listening to a lot more of this music over time. Anyway, I guess that's enough talking for Pete's sake. I thought you were going to do something there.
And shake like an earthquake, cause of a Pete's sake. Pete's sake.
So this one, it has its little intro, babe. And it happens to be the second verse of the track, which I believe is performed by Pete Rock. I might be wrong about that. And it's that verse kind of over a different beat. On a different flow a little bit. And then the song just kind of starts and kicks in. And yeah, what do you think about this one?
So it starts like with like a freestyle, I think, done elsewhere.
It's
or
the
like
exact
maybe he
same
just,
thing
like,
as the other verse.
Yeah. Or maybe he just liked the sound and wanted to include it somewhere because it's like a nice jazzy bit. I don't know. Anyways, I really like the beat on this one, which is, kind of necessary because it's for Pete's sake. And the beat on this one definitely sounds like something Nas would use in Illmatic. So it definitely sounds very New York or New York area inspired. And already, like, I was finding like the songs a bit long at the beginning. I don't know. Well, I mean, you'll see. Like, I think things change, but like I think at the beginning, like, I was like, not so sure about this album. But yeah, this one just feels like it just keeps on going, and it seems like a little like unnecessarily long. It's about 6 minutes long, or 5 minutes shy of. I like the sound, but I feel like it's like created to be used as samples in something in the future. Like I think that's kind of like what it was designed for. So I give it a 4 on 5.
Maybe. I mean,
like I wonder if like DJs do that. Like,
snap! This track samples "Once in a Lifetime" by Talking Heads, which is the one with the freaking weird music video. Anyway, that's an interesting point, right? Like basically, the DJs create instrumentals or producers create them with the intent of having it be sampled later on in the future. And I suppose if you're a person who samples music
or hopes that it'll get used in the future,
is that like something that you would keep in mind, is creating something that's so fresh it's sampleable? I never really thought about that. But yeah, so it comes in with that little verse, and the way he does the flow, I feel like the flow is done differently based on the different music that's under it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like it doesn't sound like they just took the first verse or second verse and like copied and pasted. Nah, it does, like you said. Like he's in this different club or whatever, and he just kind of spits it.
Yeah.
And then it's cool. Like here's comes the rugged one, bust the way I flip it. I collect the loot, then I knock the boots. And I thought about that, and I'm like, in a sense, that is a little bit how life would work. When you collect the loot, it becomes a lot easier to proceed to do things like knock the boots, which is intercourse for those who might not know. And when you have money, it's not that money necessarily makes you cooler, but if you can take the girl out to the place and then Uber her home, like to your home, your chance of success is a little bit better than if you give her 2 hours of public transit to get home, right?
Okay.
Then she gets tired and stuff.
Right.
So, like, in a sense, money does make the process simpler than not having it. So, after collecting the loot, it is in fact simpler to knock the boots.
I guess so.
Anyway, he prefers to be called the chocolate lover. I get it. Ladies love chocolate. It makes a lot of sense. But my favorite part is when he goes, I'm dip, dope. I rhyme like a Rizzo. I cleanse the soap because it's the great black hope. And the way he just does that dip, dope, and the way he just says it all, I feel like it's fresh. It has this, like, confidence in the delivery that's truly divine to listen to. And it's cool. Like, Pete Rock, he's on the boot knock. And plus the way that he flows, it's like blood clot. So I guess he disrupts the flow with his superiorness, because isn't that what a blood clot does? A blood clot literally disrupts the flow.
Yep.
Anyway, maybe I'm going to whatever. Anyway, the verses are pretty fine on this, in my opinion. It's just solid rhyming is a way to describe a lot of this album. You know, for Pete's sake, a breaking up date, wait, a radiated up plate to navigate the tune I make. And part of it isn't necessarily what's being said, but a lot of it for me that makes it really fun to listen to is how smooth it's all being said over this beat. How the rhyming just punches perfectly in every single part. And at least at this point, I can't say there's like a whole lot of lyrics that was popping out at me as stuff that I was going to remember or that it's super like whatever. But the way they were saying it, I found pretty mesmerizing to a point where the only reason I knew it was 6 minutes is because I was reviewing this album and I was watching the clock tick, you know, kind of in that sense where you watch time go by. But if I put myself in the perspective of throwing this on for the sake of listening to it, like, it's pretty freaking great. The beat just has this cool tone to it, whereas the last one I felt kind of more upbeat. This one has a more almost severe tone to it, and I kind of like that.
Okay.
And then the second verse is the very first thing we described in terms of a track, and then it kind of adds a little bit more. And I like how all the verses include the "for Pete's sake" at the end, because I'm assuming Pete Rock is the one rapping on this one. I could be wrong,
think it is,
but I'm pretty sure it is. And then I think C.L. Smooth, based on what Genius is telling me here, does the third verse. And it's cool, because he also starts with them with the Mecca sweet like nectar, so I guess that's a clue. I don't know. I'm not the best at identifying people. Still, he comes in and it's pretty cool. I like when he goes, here steps the one, the answer to the riddle. Survey says the black press can make you wiggle. The staff to the craft, the stroke of a painter, perfect stranger, melody arranger. Loopholes are filled when I build with the skill. Liquid steels on the mic and the rocks chill. And I just like how effectively he's establishing through these series of lines that he has the answer. He is the answer. He is the skill. And he correlates what he does to different prowesses, like crazy artistry or the technical intellectual prowess of filling loopholes, you know, things like that. So I really appreciate it, because what we're not getting here is I'm gonna fuck you up. What we're not getting here is I'm the best. I guess we're not getting the triggers that would let me know that something's a little fishy here. We get in all the cool signs that this is some authentic shit, where these are just confident, smart dudes trying to showcase their rhyming ability by rhyming well, rather than trying to remind you that they are the best. They are just, it's almost like
they're just gonna prove it. Rather
than showing you the scorecard and saying that's what the scorecard says, every time they step up to the plate, they're shooting perfect. And it's pretty cool. Until we get to the damn outro, where they like shout out everybody, just every freaking buddy and everything. About that, And that's part of why this song is as long as it is. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know who any of these people are. Eric Coleman, David Tisdale, Geo, Ronald B, Walt G, Groovy Lou, Black. Y'all might know who these people are, and I'm not trying to be kind, disrespectful in any way, because I get it. It's really cool of them in that regard to shout out all their people. Because if I was one of those people, I would feel real cool right now hearing, the record and then hearing that at the end of it.
Right.
On the other hand, who are all these people? It's not like Ronald B, he set up promotional materials, rocked the house, and Geo, there's nothing.
Like,
just a list
figure it out, guys.
Honestly, some serious, like Nick T,
and
that is very
days,
nondescript.
1992? How would people have figured that out?
Anyway, Everybody Rock the House, signing off. Peace. I like this one, though. I thought, like, at this point, I knew that the album was going to have a certain consistency to it in the sense that I don't know that I'm going to come up with the most insightful shit to say about every single song, was my feelings on this. But I also knew that I really loved the overall vibe again. And what would happen, and this kind of happened on every single song because they're 6 minutes-ish kind of or whatever, is it would start playing and I would be real focused in the first verse, and then somewhere between that and the end of the song I'd be like distracted with almost anything. But as I was distracted, I was just jamming in like a great way because the background music, ambiance that this album creates is actually stellar for pretty much doing anything on a computer. So I gave this track a 4.35.
All right, well, let's check out Ghettos of the Mind.
Throw a scene on every corner. I'm trying, but the kids keep crying and the bullets keep flying.
Yes, clearly this song has some very distinct subject matter that makes it easier to identify and discuss. I knew that this was the next song. I just meant in general for the album. And I think this song is when I actually got kind of excited for the project because this is the first one that really struck out at me as like, whoa, I could see myself actually listening to this. And it flows in. And, you know, just I catch a body at a party, sort of herbal with the verbal. Look above and see the vultures fly around in a circle, you know, and it kind of, you know, it's really vague. You're not really sure where it's going yet, but you also see the name of the song, so you expect it to go in a certain direction. So, bag 'em while you lollygag and rag into a tag and assassin with the millimeters roars of a dragon. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he went there. And that's a crafty way, I guess, of pointing out that, like, the gunshot is a loud roar-like thing, right? The millimeters roars of a dragon. I mean, when else do you hear millimeter? To me, it just kind of pictures guns.
It makes me think of Chasing the Dragon. Isn't that like a drug reference as well?
Ooh, that's another good point. That's a really good point as well. I guess that could be both those things because it's both sides of that
and like
situation.
a millimeters would be like I don't know. Is that like what's in a syringe? Is it?
Yeah, I guess a syringe could also be an assassin that roars like a dragon because Chasing the Dragon, I believe, is heroin.
Yeah.
That's cool that we got like such different but hopefully accurate things based on you folk watching. Here stood the Black Hood, thirsty for the end and for the love of money, kind of funny new friends, public housing, 1,000 in a tent, so I'm forced to sell hell just to pay the rent. So then you just get the sense of him painting the picture of the drug dealer in the situation, but also immediately feeling bad. Like there's no glory here about selling drugs. It's more like, yo, we packed up like sardines in this project situation and there's no options. I mean, the story's pretty clear about how that can come to be. Killing my own people, I put them out of order, just like the liquor store scene on every corner. I mean, like I'm sitting there going, fuck, eh? It's blunt. And I think that's what I really appreciate about it. When you have a song like this, it's not, I mean, the real ones, the ones that I find I really like are really blunt because it is blunt subject matter. And when you're trying to paint that picture, I think it's more effective to be blunt than to be super creative and crafty with it. And to associate the fact that the black on black crime happens with frequency to alcohol, and in my opinion, alcohol is a huge catalyst for violence and shit. Like, why are there so many liquor stores in a hood? These are some interesting questions. Or they even checked it out in Canada. I don't know if you saw this metric, but if you look at the distribution of where the weed stores in Canada are located, it's almost all in poorer neighborhoods. Because probably the wealthy people just buy online or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then, you know, the cops come down and shoot some blacks and Puerto Ricans so people can't relax, and they're actually just getting the wrong person. So it's almost like, oh, you're black? Yeah, you're fine. I'll just arrest you. You're good. You fit the description. Black male. You know, like, and that's kind of, and this is, I guess, a lot of stuff that, like, I don't know. I know in some parts of the world, in some parts of the States, it's probably just this is exactly what the reality is. In other parts, maybe it's not the same anymore, but certainly in some places, this is still the reality. But what I like is how they frame it back down to being ghettos of the mind, where it almost frames it like this is a branding issue. This is a marketing issue. By creating this environment, the people believe this type of thing.
Yeah.
And then I think that the next couple of verses flow through with continuing to paint that picture, like on the static with your BM, only when you see it and speaking on your baby mom's the best for the drama, always trying to make a movie, little Stark, Raven, Looney stressing it, but you know the ghetto keep you busy, a place that when I die it would never even miss me. Crack files in the aisles as one pimp smiles, dope piles working hookers by the miles. And you know, it's just, again, this is what's going on out there. People are trying to eat, the people are doing these types of hustles and stuff. He wants to stop the darkness in the situation, but like it's almost like there's nobody capable of believing it. But backwards wisdom I can't afford to give him. Self-savior is much braver with the conscious behavior designed in the ghettos of the mind. So what I think he's trying to say there is there's no incentive to work together. It's just everyone's out for themselves, and this is another way that people are trapped inside of this mind situation. And then just the way he starts the third verse, and I believe it's all CL doing this. I can never look forward to early retirement, but still I maintain in a hostile environment. And I don't know, sometimes I just hear lines like that where, I mean, I totally want early retirement. That is 100% an option maybe in my life if I'm smart. I have an RRSP with money in it, and like I could, if I wanted to, go be that guy. But I'm not in a hostile environment. So imagine that there's nothing to look forward to and you might fucking die. So what are you going to do but hustle? And then the fact my parents hated blood money, so they gave me the boot. Take a risk because the peer pressure has the edge. It was a blessing when I saw my left angle on the edge. And then essentially, if I'm not, he ends up to have a kid, and then he kind of decides to go a little bit different with his route and become a little bit smaller, and then looks around again and still notices that it's a concentration camp with the Section 8. Welfare checks given at a monthly rate. Apply for to get high or just plain lazy. Many steady collect right around a fifth baby. So I guess that fifth baby you make enough off of benefits so you don't even have to even bother trying anything, because why bother? Yeah, it's just kind of like pointing out that with this mentality that exists, people get left behind. Now, I grew up poor in Montreal, which is not the same as the ghetto, but it is the same as being poor. And what I've noticed about poor people is poor people don't believe they can achieve the same things that middle class people believe they can achieve. So, like, and I know this because I used to be, like, dumb. Like, I used to think poor because I was. That's when you're, like, spending every dollar the second you get it, or like you don't save because what's the point? Like, there's no point. You never could, you never have, you never will have good things, so what's the point? It's not for your kind of people. And that kind of mentality inhibits you in some seriously macro ways, because apparently the artist's success is visualization. So basically you can achieve the things you can perceive for yourself. So the bigger you can dream, the more you can achieve in your life. And if the ghetto of the mind keeps you to a point where you are unable to visualize better things for yourself, because the top tier is garbage of what you can see for yourself, and you might not even achieve the top, then that's your trajectory. You won't make the kinds of choices in your life that will get you to better places, because fundamentally life is just a series of the choices that you make and the environment that you're in. Of course, I'm not trying to really go that far with it, but within yourself, a lot of your life is going to be the choices that you make based on the opportunity and the cards that you're dealt and how you flip that shit. So I'm not saying that everyone has fair anythings or anything like that. What I am saying, though, is that the people who can visualize that type of future can probably get out a lot better than the people who can't. And I think that mentality is what is being explored here in this track, based on the environment that is created, and questioning why does this environment even exist, but understand that this environment breeds this kind of mindset, and this kind of mindset is problematic, especially when white America is rebranding it all as the worst of the worst of the worst without any real compassionate understanding, which historically is both what happened and is still currently happening. Okay, That's all I gotta say about that track in terms of the message. I thought it was really fucking amazing, and I thought the beat was like even cooler than the other beats I heard. Like in terms of more, maybe it is the Nas feel, or I don't know if that's whatever. But like in general, I just felt it was a lot more engaging, a lot easier for me to get into.
Yeah.
So I get this a 4.5 on 5. There was like a storytelling way to the way he did it too, but it was almost like he's just like a painter painting this landscape that anyone can appreciate. And well, I've never been in the hood. Human psychology is a fascinating thing that can transcend other things per se, and I do believe that environment can greatly impact an individual's self-worth and how they perceive their success in the future. And while we should change the environments, part of the reason we should... Anyway, now I'm moving in circles. That's fine. It's a good track.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely touched on most of it. I mean, it's basically
I don't even know
just...
if you went or not on this one. Did I just talk the whole time?
Yeah, you did too. But it's okay. That's what we're here for. So people are just sort of like... It's just the realities of the ghetto, and he mentions like people are getting killed, and because there is no hope for a lot of them, a lot of people are committing suicide. It's like that sort of like result.
That's true too.
Yeah, and it's and whether it's like suicide by like one swift movement, or becoming an addict of crack, or whatever. Crack, it was 1992, so like that was very, very available, I guess. And yet, like, his family is like still trying to do everything that they can to provide for their kids, and he's saying that he's the 5th kid, I think, in like the family, and he's talking about his like mother's kind of situation, I think. And so it's just kind of like dealing with that, and your mind can escape the shitty situations that you're in, but like the hood mentality like will keep you there. So it's just to try to like be better and like explore and see the world, and do what you can so that you can kind of escape this situation, and not just stay there and be trapped by that. So yeah. And so it's and it has a really fun beat, which again is sort of like an interesting juxtaposition again to like the topic, I guess, of like the song. So it's like fun and uppity, but it's quite a serious kind of sad topic. So I like it. It was really well written. It was well rapped. I gave it a 4.5 on 5 as well.
Well, when you have sex, there's lots of loving.
I would protect you in your moment of fear. Relax.
If I'm ever single in the future, I'm going to make a fat ass playlist of every fucking song like this I can find. God. And I'm going to make it part of my dating strategy to be as corny as possible.
That's how you're going to stay single.
I don't know if that's true. Confidence wins all. There is a boldness to unapologetically saying stuff like, a sweet serenade, sip lemonade as we laid inside the shade. I'm like, I love it. It's so good. It is so bad, but it is so good at the same time. And this is just so instantly now, forever. We all know my romance hero is Big Daddy Kane. Mm-hmm. First of all, he got to fondle Madonna's titties. And second of all, I mean, he did. That was cool. He was very surprised and humbled by the moment and assured everybody they did not intercourse, but whatever, that's what he says. And then I'm not ashamed is absolutely become one of the best things to come out of this channel in my life, which was a recommendation of DJ Black Hurricane. Thank you for that. Bonnie does have to listen to that song every little while because it is just... I don't know that I can actually get through it beginning to end, but it's pretty awesome for what it is. And I feel like this track is right up there. But way better. Like, I feel like there's a sincerity to it.
Yeah.
Where it feels like C.L. Smooth is actually singing to a woman he loves.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas Big Daddy Kane is singing to any woman that can give him some lovin'.
Yeah. True. Yeah. There's a little bit more integrity there.
But this was just fantastic, right? Because the beat has this, like, it's love time.
Yeah.
And it just kicks in, and you're just like, oh, fuck, where did this vibe come from on this project?
This is song 4. Like, you're like, what?
And like,
like you would think maybe like later on.
Weren't we just discussing the hardships of the ghetto and how to escape them in town? C.L. Smooth's laying it down. On the other hand, maybe this is the escape, is love. Maybe that's what he's trying to say.
True, yeah.
On the other hand, this was just corny, but amazingly done. I need you and only you to give me more tender love right down to the core. It's like the creativity even in the rhyming seems to have taken a dip when rappers approach love. I don't understand why, but it always just gets like to that level of Hallmark card level of rhyming.
Yeah.
If you could read what's on my mind, you'll find my feelings are genuine. Day after day, you're the one I'm thinking of with lots of love. And I say this all to the whatever, but I would do the same. I would not be better. I would not do better than this. I would equal the corniness coming from these men. And that's why I respect it so much, because this is that romance that people tried to sell that I can't to this day find a single girl that really wants any guy to say that kind of crap to them.
Yeah.
I do like how he does proceed to throw in a lot of "you're black and you're beautiful" because of that stuff. So in that regard, I totally see how that would work if you are a black guy singing to a black lady about that in regards to how often black women are not represented in the best possible ways when it comes to being beautiful in any significant way. So some say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. And I'm just like, dude, he's going down with his tongue and everything. Make love every day. Okay, produce. I'm like, are you fucking breeding in the second line? Is that what you're going at? Or are you just trying to produce love juices on the regular? I ride through the tunnel of love. Share a milkshake. Carve our name in a tree by the lake. Look in your eyes, because I can't. It's amazing. You guys should listen to this if you're into this kind of stuff. I didn't watch the music video, which I now see there is, which is a little bit to my chagrin at this point, but I don't have 5 minutes to go watch it, because guess what? It's another, no, this one might be shorter. This one...
5:09.
It is. It's 5 minutes of romance. Smooth, no longer attractive romance. Every night you're the mitten I'm fitting.
No, the whole thing is that verse 3... You want to be treated like a queen, stroked like a kitten.
That's the pussy.
What?
That's a pussy reference.
No, it's like a little kitten because you
pet
a kitten. You pet a kitten.
You pet a kitten. You stroke a pussy. Pet a kitten. We're saying the same thing. We're stroking the
every
pussy.
Every night, you're the mitten I'm fitting. Like, come on, what is this, Dr. Seuss?
Tease your lips with the tip of my tongue. I've tried that. Most girls don't like it. Some really, really do. And you know how you know they do? Because they're busy licking your lips. No, I've had it happen. I've kissed more than you in life. So there's a bunch. Anyway, some girls really are into that, type kissing shit. Others are not. But in my experience, most girls I've kissed are not into the teasing lips. Unless it's teasing the lips, the downstairs lips with the tip of the tongue. In which case, usually most ladies are okay with that. I'm just saying, I've not seen a lot complain too much about those lips.
All right.
Bonnie's like, can we just move on? This is what the song's about, okay? This is what's going on right here. And there's no doubt about it, lady. I'm strong, which just makes me picture him saying he's hung on your love, looks, and affection. Your quality. Top choice selection. Isn't it? Like you're like a piece of meat and you're like the best grade of it. I don't know. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it enough to give it a 4.25. And this might be my current favorite of quality in this cheesy loving, but nothing will ever touch I'm Not Ashamed.
Yeah. I mean, C.L. Smooth is good. And he definitely works on this track. I enjoy his voice. And it definitely reminds me of somebody else. I can't think of who exactly. Maybe it is Big Daddy Kane. But this is definitely a cheesy ass love song. But it definitely sounds like it's directed to maybe his long-term current girlfriend that he's that he's just in love with, and he just wants he just imagines his life with her, and it's very lovey-dovey, blah blah blah, gross like this. And yeah, I mean, it's well done. It's not a bad song, but it's just cheesy AF. So I gave it a 4.2 as well, or 4.2.
Yeah, but it's amazingly girls, if you are watching this, because for some reason in the last month we got girls show up on the channel and click on our videos. So welcome 33% of our viewers that were ladies in the last month. That has never happened in the history of this channel before.
It's all that
It could very well be that entirety of that one video is our female viewership.
Yep.
But if you manage to come over here, what do you think of this kind of romance? Is this your jam? What gets you going, ladies that are watching this? And guys, is this how you write your poetry to yo lady, or do you do something else? If you want to share with us some of your love poetry in the comments, you would make me very happy when I read that after, and we can share love poetry. I can link you something a little special that Bunny said I can't link you. Anyway, Act Like You Know is the next song on this project.
Wait a minute, I speak. Loved by my son and a kiss on the cheek. Stutter slip the concept.
Can we just say something here for a quick second?
You sure can.
If you lie without an alibi, you're a bad liar. Okay, how do you feel about this song? Why don't you start us off?
Well, I like the kind of like the jazzy intro on this one. And like this one has a pretty fun beat again. It's also like a fair amount of them complimenting each other and saying like how good like each of the other one is, which is very nice. And obviously like they're buddies. I always appreciate when like you can like feel like their friendship and stuff like in like the music. And they seem like a bunch of like cool guys. Like they're just like having a nice time together. So why not? And so they're kind of just basically like the overall like synopsis of like this song is you basically look like a fool for like, or you would look like a fool for not knowing who they are. So act like you know who they are if they come up in a conversation, and then go look them up and figure out who they are. So it's nice. Like it's pretty cool. So I give
Can we just interject and say sometimes rappers make some crazy grandiose statements like that. And they're just lying. They might be right.
Yeah.
They might be like the kind of people that you really should fake knowing if you don't know, and you should act like who you know. Like I'm saying that on the sincere in a 2019 conversation sense.
Yeah, if you want to be like, oh, like I know my classic, hip hop, blah 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 blah. If you don't know these guys,
act like you know.
Act like you know. So yeah, I give 4.25.
Yeah, I feel like it starts off with this crazy jazz thing, intro thing, and this is when I realized this intro thing was a thing.
Yeah, it just keeps going every time.
And then it just flips into the beat, which is upbeat and kind of whatever. It's not my favorite beat on the album. It's also one that I felt shared the same qualities of intoxicating grooveness that we were getting on the previous beats. So I liked it. And then as far as the lyrics went, you're right. And he kind of came in. There were some interesting ones where he goes like John knew the Hebrew, where it's interesting where again it's like a little language where I don't know enough Nation of Islam shit to know enough about the black Hebrews and shit like that, but I do know about the Jewish people Hebrews. And so I don't know if that's showing solidarity with Judaism, because I believe he does that later on when he goes, I stand by the rabbis sail in Shanghai, or if that's referring to black Israelites, which is a whole other thing I need to learn about. But I thought that was just cool that he like kind of plugs that in, right? So like here comes the hurricane, see out a name, cut by the gram when I land on the plane, and then make sure he brings up God almost like immediately at the beginning of this, which was cool. And then yeah, one of my favorites was pimp are the lyrical, G-string the individual, but the metaphysical is spiritual, straight from the heart of from the art. And I was like, is he kind of like implying here that he pimps out the lyrics enough that it's almost like a G-string to the individual, because as an individual you like the G-string? And I was like, if so,
maybe
that's actually one of the most creative ways I've seen anybody flip a pimp line. Right?
Yeah,
that's pretty fucking cool. Anyway, tutor up my class real fast, very smart. That's true. He's a smart guy. I don't know. I just enjoyed the way he kind of put that out there. It seemed like a fun follow-up. Then there's other stuff like Pastime, another rant, Skedaddle, Yankee Doodle, where you're just like, okay. Light skin and a lovely jip just for the honey dip. Here to take a... I'm like, wait, did he just say Pastime, another ram, Skedaddle, Yankee Doodle? That just is shit that sounds good together. That didn't mean a lot, did it? Did that mean something? Or does Yankee Doodle can't sit down riding on a pony?
He's from New York. Yankees is like also the New York like baseball team.
I never really thought about that. Fair. Is that right? Is that like the doodle of the Yankees? Anyway,
No.
I don't really know what that is. So it's fine. And then third verse is cool. I like when he goes, CL can play like Nike. Come on, just do it. That was a smart pun because it's still relevant in 2019. Pacify the gem and that soul into it. Pete to my beat is a rock like concrete. Hard for the street. The cipher never incomplete. And again, it flows from there. Same kind of stuff, honestly, for the rest of the track. Just kind of showing love and also showing skill and cleverness and insane rhymings. And he literally rhymes titties with bitties. Can we just say that? Titties and bitties. It's so good, but it's so early 90s at the same time, but also not in a way that's dated. Just, I don't know that a lot of people would rhyme titties with bitties today. I think we would just not do that now. Anyway.
Why?
I don't know.
It's itsy bitty.
2 Chainz would do that. Wow. I could see 2 Chainz doing it.
Okay.
Anyway.
That's weird.
I gave it a 4.35. It's pretty much like my standard of this album. Like, it's pretty freaking great. Not 100% my cup of tea. Still enjoyable as a track and something I would want to listen to. But the truth is, sometimes if you're going to try to copy or you own some music and they steal it to use in sampling purposes, you could have to straighten it out.
Yep.
But together here's what we gotta do.
All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about this?
Well, it definitely, it sounds like he's letting people know that they should straighten out their music. But I also read that he said that it could also apply to a situation in like an interview. It could apply to any situation where people are dealing with a problem, and he's saying to get to like the bottom of it and to just solve it and take care of it and straighten it out. And he's sort of like justifying, like, people maybe think that like they're, I don't know, copywriting or whatever, or using other people's work without like mentioning them or whatever, but like they're saying like, nope, like everything we write is our own, and we mix everything in, and we like indicate everything that we do, so like we like straighten it out if there's any issues in terms of like the artist that they're sampling, or like from, I think like the music industry like itself is like kind of questioning like what they're doing, or like their label or whatever. You're like staring at your computer like you're not really sure what I'm talking about.
I'm just reading that interview quote.
Okay. And yeah, so anyways, I like this one. I think the mixing is really well done on this one. And they're also kind of saying like, we've worked hard enough and we're smart enough, and now we want our recognition, and it's our time to shine. Like they're sort of saying like, this is like our moment, like we're coming up, like, so we're gonna like straighten everything up, make sure it's all good, because we want to be at the top. So I give it a 4.25. I like it.
Yeah. It's definitely looking a little bit at the industry in that regard. And I do agree that, in a sense, they're saying, like, make sure your stuff is clear, because there are consequences to it not being done. I mean, on the sense of creating your image at a label, right? Mm-hmm. In order to be like the best or established, I guess you need to be something that can't be replicated, because if you can be duplicated, it's a fatal thing,
Yep.
Or if you try to copy what other acts are doing, there's no substance in it. You won't be able to survive. It will ultimately end your career, type of thing. And that's fair. But I also was picturing it like, do people like steal the music in like bootlegs and duplicate it like that regard? Like, are people not paying their dues in a literal sense? Maybe. Is there like an issue with that? Whatever. As far as like the rhyming goes and the beat goes, it's kind of similar to the last Sense of Sounds. Like, obviously the instrumental's different and created differently, but in terms of the rapping and the flows, it's like that. And then Pete Rock kind of does like the hook where he gonna just go straighten it out, he just samples it all in, and it kind of sounds really cool. Mm-hmm. What I thought was most interesting was the second verse, where he goes, the funk legacy I pass on, clear and see for high rates, every time we sample all the pastime greats, stick it in the SP 1200 beat, I make a loop, lovely with a troop in a Lexus coupe, and just a little bit, set to make a whole lot happen, the music industry and my rapping. Written by C.L., produced by the PR, and adding any credit that you heard this far. I start from scratch because the bassline's critical, better than the original who made it first, who first made it. So what he's saying there is he's kind of describing the process of sampling and creating these instrumentals that they do, in which case they do pay their credit that they're supposed to. And I think it's in a sense something that you need to do, and maybe a lot of people weren't aware of this at that time. I mean, even within the realms of fair use and copyright law, it's not like you can void credit to the original source. You need to credit them that they inspired your work. I mean, it's kind of a constant thing. I understand that a lot of people did get sued at this period of time over sample clearance issues due to just a lot of people didn't know, or it was just the thing to be done at the time. But at the end of the day, even if what you can do is take something like a lame-ass bass line and some old-ass song and flip it into a fresh-ass thing, you gotta just be careful and smart with how you approach your music career. And this still applies true today. Like, if you're gonna use music you don't own, you gotta be aware of the consequences of that, you know?
Yeah.
And so if you do want to use other people's stuff, and I think almost most relevant is stuff like the current climate of copyright law on YouTube is almost like another generation of creators in a completely different medium going through the equivalent version of this sample clearance issue. And if you look at the situation, it's almost exactly like that. Even our videos, I've had to cut out some copyrighted material in a few of our videos to get the claiming back. Our Biggie review got blocked worldwide. I found out I didn't have to re-upload it. I could have just deleted some shit, but in a sense, copyright's a whack world. And then, yeah, the third verse, I believe, is just him kind of saying, keep your shit straight and do everything proper and stay focused, and we're here and we're good and we're gonna kill it. Overall, I like it because it has like this educational tone of letting you know that there are things inside of the industry that you need to be aware of, and these things will happen because on the other end of it, there's got to be like a more nefarious side to this sampling thing,
right,
where people are almost looking, and this is also happening in YouTube, but looking for people who are kind of on the come up, and almost the second they start to get the buzz, that's when the lawsuit hits. They don't let them do anything when it's little. In the same way on YouTube, there are individuals who will hold channels hostage at extortion levels, like pay us $500 or we're going to destroy your channel type shit.
Yep.
So some crazy stuff out there in the world. I gave this track another 4.35. I really thought it was pretty cool. Definitely interesting, all things considered, because you don't hear anyone talk about sampling or anything kind of like that, in my little opinion. All right, what's the next track called, Bunny?
Soul Brother number 1.
I hit harder than a kick, quick to scoop on chick when it comes to skins.
Who's the number 1 soul brother?
Pete.
All right, tell us about the track.
Well, this is basically an all Pete Rock song, and he is declaring that he is the soul brother number 1. In case you didn't know. So, like, you know, he's just saying, like, he's here, and, like, you know, him and C.L. Smooth are here to make music that you can get down to so that you can enjoy it, and shouts out, like, all of his friends and, like, his influences, and, like, this one's, like, really funky, and it's really well mixed, and I think, you know, again, this is, like, a kind of Pete Rock's like shining moment. So he's you know, obviously, like, I assume that he mixed it as well, and so he made it like super cool, and like he performs on this one, so it has a pretty smooth, fun beat, and there are some good lines. I personally like the line, Hun said, I'm so smooth they should call me lubrication. I thought that was a nice line. Anyways, it's just like a fun, like, Pete Rock kind of showy off song, and they're just doing what they're doing, and it's good. I give it a 4.4 on 5.
But I gotta throw in that it's incredible how they're able to floss without being hostile.
Yeah.
Like, there's no aggression here. There's no negativity here. It's just like, yo, I'm the soul brother number 1. Come on a new tip. Nestle coated right, because I'm rich, thick, and chocolate. Like Nestle, but back before it was too stupidly super evil.
Yeah.
Plug up any mic. I'll bet you Pete Rock will spark it. Huns always be like, what's the bulge in my pocket? Get it? Get it? But really, like, money. It's not like it was like, could also be as jerk.
Jerk. Do you guys just automatically say dick like jerk?
No, I don't. I only do it because of you.
Maybe now you guys are going to do it because of me.
Either way, But it's just more the sense that he's kind of focused on himself, his grind, his world, his growth, what he can do for people and stuff. And it's not really like, oh, I'm trying to make all the fat stacks to be the best there ever was. It's more like I'm just trying to show a better way of living, and I'm kind of living my life to the best. And I find that really, really cool. I mean, yes, he does think he's dope, which is completely fair.
Yeah.
He hits harder than a kick, quick to scoop a chick. When it comes to skins, Pete Rock got it thick. Now, I know what skins is. It's sex. I'm not, or ladies.
I thought it was condoms.
Sex. Well, I mean, in this regards, when it comes to, because they talk about skins being ladies on the last track of this very album called Skins. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to assume that's what Pete Rock means by that. He's not.
I think I guess it's like the vagina skin.
It's the fact that your skin is entering her skin and all the skins meshing together.
I like how it's
another one I really just enjoyed was You Can Ask Greta with the red Jetta. It's like, what a weirdly specific, random-ass detail to attribute to Greta. The only reason Greta has a Jetta, folks, is because Jetta and Greta rhyme.
Well, you know what? Greta, I think, might just be a German name. And guess what? So is a Volkswagen Jetta. So
Guess
maybe
what?
It all makes sense.
Honey did me lovely, and I'm glad that I met her. I come style after style. Sucker MCs try to swallow. Swallow like Greta tried to swallow, which is a different kind of swallowing, I suppose, maybe? I don't know. But them seem to say my style's too hard to follow. That's the one thing rappers all seem to say. I don't know if that's ever been true.
What?
That my style's too hard to follow. There's always people who can follow your style. That's why there's copycats.
True.
Certainly, it might not be as fresh or authentic, but then there's like generational torch transferrings where somebody will kind of occupy that lane that you were once in and be something different than you. Kind of like how Young Thug wants to take over the auto-tune side of Lil Wayne's universe type shit. And then third verse is all about showing love and stuff. That's pretty cool. And then Pete Rock will get the job done. And Honey's Love Him Tender. And he really wants you to know that the women like him for his smoothness, which is cool. I respect it. I was thinking about it as I was listening to this track. Do guys like DJ Mustard and like all these other fucking producer tag guys that are on everybody's favorite banger, like, you know, that must be enough to get a girl like get yourself laid. Like some girl be like, you're DJ like Mustard on a beat, ho? Like that guy? I'll do it. Like it's gotta happen to people like DJ Mustard. Anyway,
maybe
that's all I gotta say about that. I thought the track was pretty cool. I gave it a 4.25. Like as I said a bit earlier, I do enjoy the way C.L. Smooth raps a little more than Pete Rock, but overall, it's still a pretty good song, and it still kind of sucks you in and does all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And then Wig Out. Wig Out is another song.
All right.
Shout, C.L. Smooth got the wig out. It's the wig out.
All right, Bonnie, what do you think of this more upbeat kind of rappity rap styled song?
So like for like the first like 10 seconds, again, it's sort of like the intro thing that they do.
Super crazy jazzy thing.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in like a jazz club or something like that. It's really, really cool. And then it sort of like kicks into like the song, and it's like pretty cool because it's just like whispering over and over again. It's like, it's called Wig Out, Wig Out, Wig Out. And it's just like cool, like that kind of like feeling. I don't know. It's sort of hypnotic when you hear that kind of thing. I don't know, or at least it works for me. So it's just sort of like to not be not be caught unaware of like how great they are and like how exceptional their music is, and like their rhymes are great and their flows are sick and their mixing is cool. And this is sort of like just like a We're So Great track, but like they obviously like show that they are, and it like for like some of them have kind of been like in this theme, but like I feel like this is the one where like they're really like professing like how great they are, which is kind of cool. So I mean I didn't really find there was anything too like substantial. I mean the rhymes were great again, everything was good, so I gave it a 4.25 on 5.
I definitely felt like this one was a step up in terms of energy and enjoyability for me, and I would say this is one of the better songs on the album. Not to say that like they're all really good and they're all consistently really good, so this is just a little bit better than the other ones. But there's just a quicker pace of the rhymes, like circulated in the veins, set to ride the cracks on your brain. It's like, oh shit, they're comparing themselves to drugs right off the jump. Like a Novocaine, I train to ease any pain. So they're gonna be like a painkiller, and they're gonna be like crack. They are like all the drugs, except maybe hallucinogens. Yeah, get your wig loose, I relieve tension. The path to my lesson is the highway to heaven. Plus, what a rush, catch another one flush. Now you wanna got it crush, making Danes wanna blush. And I just love the way he's consistently rhyming it, but also kind of flowing it out like, I will be this source of ecstasy in your life because that's what I set out to do. Like, it's almost like he's using his rhyming ability from a point of servitude to help you get through your day, which is fucking cool. And then, it just kind of flows on, and then wiggity wig, get the big bread, knowing to break 'em like a twig, give me beef because I don't eat pig, who runs the joint and the flavors in the burning, got one life to live as the world keeps turning. And it just kind of goes. I don't have a lot to comment on that. It's just kind of what it feels like, but the pace and the way it sounds, it really just flows to a super enjoyable experience on this track. The rest of the song is going to be kind of in the same vein. With the pace of the racehorse, I cover like lip gloss, and I'm like, it's such a weird line, right? When you think about it, like, so with the pace of a racehorse, as in he's going super fast, he covers like lip gloss, like that shit you put on your lips to protect it from like heat and cold. And it's just,
well, lip gloss is like girls just put that shit all over.
Yeah,
we'll just sit there for like. When it's like lip gloss, like, I don't know. I feel like girls do that. Or like maybe when I was like 14, I did that.
Maybe. Roll with the force to get you wigged, of course. The honey coat of brown eyes, wise to the franchise. Notice other guys never twist his size, bigger than life. I hit the wife undercover. You discover when my dog ate the drawers off the mother. So I'm super into the flow, and again, the combination of words he's using. As far as the overall message, man, it just kind of feels like he's fly, he's flossy. It's really just kind of fun to listen to. Again, not a lot of datedness going on. Not a lot of hostility, just kind of fun. CL, the A+, while you wear an F like a freebie. With your 9 limes, this arrives here, kitty kitty. And I'm like, damn, is this like him kind of alluding again to pussy in another sort of creepy way that doesn't work so much in 2019? God, I love the past. Ultimately, I really dig this track. This is one of my favorites. This is one of the cool ones. And
yep.
I would never spread it like sauerkraut because I don't like sauerkraut. I give this track a 4.5 on 5. Super fun to listen to. And I guess instead of talking about anger in the nation, we're going to end this for the part 1. We're going to record part 2 in a couple days, so this will likely go live, and you can comment. And if you comment before we record part 2, so if you're one of those early adopter types on Tuesday when this comes out who want to watch it, and you leave your little comment, put it in the part 2 video. Give you some love. Spend 5 minutes just talking about whatever you chose to say to us, even if it's virtually insignificant. Even if you just tell us a recipe.
Ooh, we'd love that.
Just saying, tell us
something great, like a really cool recipe. Give us a recipe.
Yeah, especially if you're in like some place that's not Montreal, Quebec. So if you're not from there, we would love to hear what you're eating.
Yeah.
And if you are from here, there's a lot of good foods to tell us what you're eating.
Makes me think of Goody Mob and soul food.
All right, so thank y'all for watching. We totally appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment, like we said. If you make that effort, I'll answer you. You can subscribe to the channel for part 2 and other reviews. You can like the video if you did. And special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Lindell Williams, and Coney Sparks. They support what we do. They helped us get a new camera. They're going to help us pay for a freaking website because they're dope like that. And they get to tell us what albums to review, like in this very review from Jonathan Barnes. So thank you. So if you want to tell us what to do, you Dom, tell us just like that.
No.
What albums you want us to review, feel free to let us know. If that works, though, let us know so I can tell her that it worked.
Please tell me it doesn't work.
That's fine. And then you can join us there. We have, like, whatever. Just if you want to help us out, it'll be real cool. We want to get new aesthetic-y stuff, too, and make it look prettier. I make music, too. I got an album coming out soon, so you can check out what I've done in the description of this video. And thank y'all for watching, and have yourself a great freaking day.
Bye, guys!